GTU FRC Dean since 2009 for SASIT. We are very glad to welcome Dr. Jignesh Vakhasia sir and sincerely appreciate his outstanding contribution for organizing this event and being a part of it. I may now hand over the session over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Adela madam.
You're most welcome.
Audible and visible also.
You're
Both are perfect.
audible, but
But
Yeah, you are
sir,
visible,
you're
but
not
your slide is
visible.
not visible.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yet I have not present the slide. Fine.
Okay.
So good morning, all of you. Today is the last day of our STTP. Hope you have learned lots of things with various experts. As such, I will try my best that I will cover that what uncovered. Otherwise, solar parabolic is there, solar, technology is there. So it will be some part will be quick revision for you. So let me share my slide. It's a slide is visible to you, all of you.
Yes, sir, it is visible now.
Okay, fine. So uh, that will be the 12th session as displayed. Friend, today we are supposed to discuss about design and development of solar parabolic concentrator. So design and development based on which parameter, so which are the factor affecting parabolic concentrator, what is solar geometry, all the way we learn the thing and then we supposed to go for prototype development. So this is, we can say, my presentation outline. Very first, we quickly summarize the need of solar energy in a different way. Various types of the solar collectors, solar geometry. That is a very important part because we get the radiation in the particular location from the sun, and that is depend on number of parameter. Which parameter will detail discuss in this particular session. What about the theoretical background about parabolic concentrator? What parameter that affect the PTC? What is the literature reviews available in different parameter and system as a whole? And when there is a number of the parameter, we need to get optimize the thing based on the feasibility, cost, efficiency, and all that. So optimization of parameters, and based on that, design and development of the solar parabolic concentrator prototype. And once we have a design, then obviously we require to have experimentation. And once we have experimentation, we need to validate the result, either analytical or either theoretical. So we have taken approach of theoretical analysis of PTC and the comparison of the performance. So it will supposed to be understood that try to cover all the thing as far as possible. So this is the outline. Now need of solar energy. A number of way the need is justified, but nowadays we will say that rapid increase in population and industrialization need a more and more energy. And at the same time, we have reserve stock of coal and all that. There's a limited. It will long lasting for certain year only. Second thing, we cannot use all these resource because they used to produce the carbon dioxide, as we know that, and that have a global warming effect and all that. Yes, just recently we have seen the cyclone. That is nothing part of the thing. This thing. At the same time, increasing pressure from various segment of society to reduce, carbon and all that. Now, country-wise, every other country used to blame that that country produced the more CO2 compared to us and all that. So that is a fighting to have earn a carbon credit, or we can say reduce the carbon dioxide consumption, or you can say generation. So this is the way. The thing is that we used to increase the solar energy. A number of way we in a subsequent, we have seen that PV module and all that. But if you want to have directly heat energy, that already we have learned in different heating, cooling application, refrigeration, and all that. So the concentrator with the best example compared to all other flat plate and all that. So the improvement in existing technology, that is a very need of our, then with also required to increase this effectiveness to have a more and more energy utilization. Just we have a brief about the solar energy potential available. So it is roughly about 85,000 terawatt available energy from the sun on a globe. And our world energy requirement, that is 15 terawatts only. So it is, we can say, about 5,000 part approximate. So nature have given tremendous, means more than 5,000 times requirement of our total need is provided by the sun to us. And the thing is that whatever the energy we presently consuming, among that only 1% is our solar energy. So 99% we depend on other form of energy. So just understanding of this slide is that there is a huge potential. That means 1% our role of energy in terms of solar. So 99% is remaining of our total utilization. In future, if the need is increased, we have a 5,000 more capacity available. So there is a tremendous things are there that in terms of entrepreneur, in terms of design development, in terms of R&D, a huge potential is there. But we have to understand the technology, and the today's all the objective of this HTTP is to learn the thing about. But the preliminary limitation of solar energy by different equipment that having a high capital cost. Earlier, it is in terms of scattered production and all that. So that will be high capital cost, and we try to reduce them in terms of mass production. And sometimes we'll see that extended repayment period. If you go for cost analysis, payback period, that will be more than 4 year, 5 year earlier. But nowadays, due to available technology and all that, up to 3 years, you can also have a payback period. So once it is a cost effective, then and then people, particular Indian people and all that, if the anything you will buy at a cheaper market, whether it's from China or other country, or it may be Pakistan, no problem. People will not hesitate to purchase if it is cheaper. So the one important thing, that is a cost effective, and that is to be understood in terms of cost analysis. If we see that I have mentioned that 85,000 terawatt is total surface solar available. But in terms of other way of renewable energy, in desert solar, 7,650, then ocean, 100, in the form of wind, there is 72 terawatt, geothermal, 44, and remaining all river hydroelectronics, biomass, open ocean, tidal, it's just a single digit. So this is, we can say, the overall potential of renewable energy available. Now we can see that what role of India in terms of solar energy, the scope and need of solar energy for India. As a whole, the India country just represent the 4.5% of the land area, global land area, and we having more than 6 times. If you say land area proportional to population, it is we have a more density, like 6 to 7 times. That means we have a total 16% of the population from the globe. And for this population, if you assume or calculated life expectancy like 65 year round up, so that kind of number of people will live and use that kind of energy. Among that, the roughly that calculating that 40 to 50% of energy consumption by the household sector. So remaining more than 50%, that is from industrial side. whatever the consumption in terms of household factor, among that 80% is consumption by the rural areas, because our 70 to 80% people live in rural areas. And that's why whatever the need of energy that will fulfill in terms of transportation, crude, petrol, diesel, and gasoline, and all the form, we used to import in terms of 226 million tons of crude oil per annum. And that once we purchase something, we have to give our money, some gold exchange, and all that. So our foreign exchange outflow in terms of 1.5 trillion per year. So that kind of deficit we used to faces nowadays. If you project this thing in a upcoming future, so in just 1 decade ahead, that importing will be in terms of 300 million tons of crude oil. So it will almost rise at the 50% due to consumption, life style, habit, population, and all concentration. As far as India is concerned, the good news is that earlier, before 5 years, India was in 10th rank in terms of solar capacity utilization. So at that time, in 2015, we used to produce 5.5 gigawatts only. Now it is like 39. So we have jumped like 7 to 8 times. And we are nowadays rank of 5. As per the current policy, government have target that our India's total renewable power capacity, existing power capacity, from 134 gigawatt to raise up to 220 gigawatts by 2020. It can be affected by COVID and all that, but it can be achievable. So this is the thing that what is the current scenario of energy globally, India-wise, what India is having presently and what they used to plan. And that's why there is a tremendous future scope in terms of every R&D and what we call sales, marketing, design, and everywhere. So this is, we can say, the different types of collector. Already we have discussed in number of lectures. Just we go fast for this particular portion. That we can say the different types of concentrator collector been classified in the two broad ways. We can say like non-concentrating types of collector, flat plate collector, and evacuated tube types collector, and concentrating type of collector. That is, we can say, the parabolic trough solar concentrator, parabolic disc concentrator, Fresnel lens concentrator, compound parabolic, and heliostat. As well, we are aware that is we have seen this thing, plate parabolic, flat plate collector, we can say. It is inclined at some angle. There is a glass cover. Inside there is absorber tube, inflow of water, and it can come out from this thing. So most commonly types that designed by Wheeler and Hartle. Normally, it will produce a 10 to 12 liter per square meter size of the collector. Other, we will say that evacuated tube types of collector. Here, rather simple absorber tube, evacuated glass tube are used. The purpose of this evacuated glass tube that to decrease the convective and conductive heat loss. By means of evacuation, it can reduce the convective, and no metal part is there, no physical contact, almost that. So conductive loss is also reduced. That's why it have a superior efficiency compared to a flat plate types of collector. Parabolic trough solar concentrator. Here we'll see that it is a linear absorber. Whatever the rays coming from sun that used to be get reflected by means of this parabolic shape reflector, and it is incident on this absorber tube. So more and more rays will be there on absorber tube. This absorber tube used to have a good conductivity, good absorbability, and this absorb heat now transferred to the circulating fluid inside the absorber tube. And as we know that this is concentrated type, here it required to be rotate as per the in alignment with the rotation of the sun. So here it is a rotation axis is given. Now you can see it is been rotated east-west direction. That means from east to west, starting from morning to evening. That means we used to trace the sun, and that's why tracking mechanism is required, particularly in case of concentrator. So this is, we can say, parabolic concentrator. Rather than to have a linear focal, if you have a point focal point, here you can see it is nothing but, we can say, the dish, parabolic dish. So whatever the rays coming that used to receive your one receiver, you can get higher concentration ratio, but only thing is that it is very difficult to transmit the water and some fluid to otherwise when you have a different pipe, it will have a shadow effect. So kind of drawback is there. But if you want to have a high concentration ratio, frequently it can be used parabolic dish concentration. Particularly earlier, it can be used like solar furnace. So you can have a high melting temperature of any metal in your application will be there. Also used in solar power plants. Another important thing, that freshness length concentrator. So once again, it is a point focal types of concentrator. It is as good as our regular lens, a convex lens. Earlier we used to have a convex lens to see the magnified image. Same thing is that once you put it in front of light and rays will concentrate a single point, it is nothing but it's a modified version of this concave lens. Sorry, convex lens. Here you can see this is a convex part. If you get extended here, like if you put it here, if you put this part here, so it will form like this. So this is nothing but convex part. One upper surface is flat, lower surface is convex. But why it is done so? Because whatever the technical advantage we will get from this convex lens, that will get from this facet, and it have a less mass, so it can very easily handle. You can move even also or track the thing. So it is reduce the mass. That's why a specific application of the lens is being used. So you can rays will be coming from the sun with concentrated at single focal point like this. So as we have seen, this facet is nothing but we can say approximation of the convex part. Say for example, this part is here. If I replace this part over here, it come like this. If I make this part over here, it come like this, So whatever we will get this kind of surface, and that is, we can say, the convex. So that kind of material been saved here. You can see here. So that is possible. Fine. Compound parabolic concentrator. It's a combination of two parabola. Like here, a rays coming that will get reflected, come here to point B. From this D to B side of parabola, whatever the rays coming, that will be reflected coming to this point A. So here, any desired shape of receiver will be there. So this is, we can say, the compound parabolic. So here is a 3 segment. This we can say the aperture entrance, aperture exit, and inside reflective surface. So at entrance, the solar rays get enter, reflected from the surface, and exit from this way. So here you can see the rays. So how it can be coming and get reflected and get gathered over this place. So this is, we can say, the compound parabolic concentrator. Heliostat, once again, very frequently used since many years. At single stationary point, you used to gather the rays like a tower, solar tower like this. And here the mirror are used to get reflected these rays. So whatever the rays are coming from the sun, that get reflected and gather over here. Here the mechanism is there to use to trace the sun. Otherwise it will work in particular time also, time limit only. So this is, we can say, the rays will get coming here by fixed target. Earlier the application was that we have a laser, unidirectional light source is that. In that case, earlier that is used by means of this concentrated light to produce or other kind of technical purpose. Clear. So this is all about, we can say, the classification of collectors and all that. Now, question will be in your mind that where it can be used. If you just see this slide, you will come to know there is a number of industrial applications are there that used to have a low to medium temperature application, like dairy, textile, paper and pulp, timber, drinks and beverages. Normally, you can have a temperature like pressurization. If you go Sumul and all that, they used to do it this 60 to 80 degree. Sterilization, boiler feed water, up to, we can say, 100 and 150 temperature is there. You can use it. Now, most important thing is that whenever you have a temperature up like 200 degree, but if it is in a less mass flow rate of fluid, that not useful. But when so a continuously higher mass flow rate, like in industrial need, then it will be the effective or feasible. So moderate temperature is not an issue, but continuously maintaining that temperature for your required industrial application, that is more important. I hope you get what I mean to say. Now, fine. So this all about, we can say, the overview about different types of collectors. Now, once we have a collector, and collector used to receive the energy from sun. And once we get the energy from the sun, that's why we need to understand the geometry of the sun. I think we have not seen in any earlier session in detail about this solar geometry. And this is as a not only the technical person, but as a engineer, it is also important to understand what kind of phenomena is there, how the rays come, and why it is different in different location and all that. So different angle we need to understood solar angle. So for example, this is our sun, the rays coming, and that will incident on our collector. Here just a flat collector is mentioned, not to make a confuse you. In case of flat surface, rays will be there. But the surface is now been tilted at a particular angle beta. So this is a beta tiltation of the surface, that is called slope beta. We are making the surface slope because as per the latitude angle, we require to make this surface slope. Fine. So here we can see this is, we can say, the horizontal surface. This is a normal to horizontal surface. And this is, we can say, the tilted surface, and this is a normal to the tilted plane. Fine. This is, we can say, the normal to tilted plane. Now the sun is here, the sun rays are coming to collector in that way. So there is some angle is formed. So the angle formed by the sun rays with normal to the collector, that is, we can say, the theta, that is called incident angle. So this incident angle goes on changing every time. Why? Because the sun is moving, and the movement of the sun will produce this particular incident angle. So incident angle is a very big culprit in case of solar incidence radiation. So this need to be identified very well. Now this is solar, we can say, the incident angle theta. Now, if you take a projection of this normal to tilted plane, the projection comes like this. So the angle made by projection of normal of the tilted plane with respect to south direction, and this is, we can say, the gamma, and that is called surface azimuth angle gamma. And obviously our longitude defined based on the north south, and that's why it is, we can say, the geometry in terms of north. Fine. And with respect to normal to the sun rays, how made angle with facing due south, that is called gamma S, solar azimuth angle. So this is another angle. Now this sun rays have make angle with the horizontal. You can see this horizontal surface, this is a sun ray, it have made angle, that is, we can say, the alpha, and that is, we can say, the altitude angle. At which altitude sun is that, at which altitude sun is moving. So this is altitude angle. So altitude angle alpha, this is slope beta, surface azimuth angle gamma. Clear? And the complement of altitude angle. So if this is 90 degree, this is some angle like this. Say for example, the complement of altitude angle, that is called theta z, that is zenith angle. Okay, so this is the zenith angle. So all the terminology we have understood. Now let's try to see in the 3D section. Here you can see the plate collector is there, or some PV module is there, some surface is there. It has certain angle beta with respect to horizontal surface. Sun is there, sun make sun rays goes to collector in that way. Not necessary it will be normal, it may normal, may not. So it have angles with a normal, that angle incident angle theta, as we have seen, and this is the altitude angle, and according to same thing we have seen, azimuth angle is considered. Fine. So now we'll see about another important terminology. So this is, we can say, our earth have an equator, it divide the two parts, and based on that we'll have east west and all that. This is the equatorial plane. Assuming that there is any kind of surface you have plot on earth surface, and that is, we can say, the normal to this surface. This is surface, if you have tilt, the normal to the tilt is like this, and this is a surface. Beta angle, already we know that if you make some angle with the surface, beta angle is there. Now sun rays like S1, S2 are coming to the surface like this. So this is incident of the rays over the surface, and this is, we can say, the normal to the tilted surface. So it will make some angle, and that is theta incident angle, as we have seen. Now let's say, for example, Surat is in a particular latitude angle, say about 22 degree, 22.3 something. So every place, every location have a different longitude and latitude. So here the point is that where we have our collector based on their appropriate latitude. So here the point contacting that surface to center of the earth, the line joining this, that will make the angle with the equatorial plane. Equatorial point, that is, we can say, the horizontal plane of the earth that divide the two parts. So this angle made by the point on a surface with respect to equatorial plane, that is a phi, and that is, we can say, our latitude angle phi. And that's why in a globe everywhere there is a different latitude, unless otherwise they are in a same particular angle. In a circumference wise, if you make a circle like over here, so all have a same latitude. But if you go in the different height, and that will be the different latitude. Fine. This is, we can say, the particular location wise phenomena, latitude angle. Now another important thing, that is our declination angle delta. What it is? There is a center of the sun, there is a center of the earth. The line joining the center of the sun and center of the earth have an inclination, some angle with the equatorial plane, and that is, we can say, the declination angle theta. Now you will surprise that why there is declination angle. Normally there will be no declination, but as all of you are aware that our earth is not rotating like its axis perpendicular to the plane of solar system. We know that the axis of the earth have some inclination, and due to this inclination, this equatorial plane also have a vary. Say for example, here we can say the height up, here down. At some particular rotation it can be like this, particular, it can be seen like this. Say for example, horizontal, say for like, yeah, fine, this is a equatorial, but our axis of the earth is not a perpendicular, but it's a real axis. Inclined axis is to rotate. And that's why obviously it will make angle, that angle is declination. So what is the value of declination? That is, we can say 23.45 degree. So here with respect to this, here it will be the minus angle, because horizontal can be considered like this. It is a minus angle, it is a plus angle. So that will be plus or minus 23.45 degree declination will occur. And this is the reason that will be the day length may get changed. So all the way we have seen different terminology, theta, angle of incidence. Now, understanding is that once any rays are incident at angle theta, say for example at angle theta, this is a solar ray. Now, if you go for this, there is a two component. There is a one sine component and there is a cos component. So whenever rays coming, we are getting the cos component of this beam radiation, and that's why due to this theta, we have a certain less value than the whatever the beam radiation. So we need to multiply it with we can say the cos theta. So if there is a zero incident angle, your theta is zero, you will get your beam radiation IBM. But in actual practice, the theta is get vary, and that's why whatever the radiation we have received on a real surface, obviously it is in the form of IBM cos theta. I hope you get the thing. So now theta is as I've seen that theta is a very important factor, and it is a very changing every time, every second. It have dependency on latitude angle phi, slope beta, surface azimuth angle gamma, the declination angle delta, over angle omega. So it depends on number of different solar angle. Latitude angle already we have seen. Normally latitude angle will be positive for northern hemisphere. It will have a 90 degree to positive 90 to negative 90. We are in northern hemisphere, so consider as a positive latitude angle. Slope already we have seen that goes up to 180 degree. Now, already we have seen surface azimuth angle gamma, that is angle made in horizontal plane between horizontal line facing due south and with the projection of the normal to the surface on horizontal plane, and it's have value minus 180 to plus 180. Declination angle already we have seen, center of the earth, center of the sun, line joining, that make angle with the equatorial plane. And that's why as we have seen, it have a plus 23.5 degree to minus 23.5 degree. It will have a plus 23.45 degree on 21st June. And this is the reason, now I think you will know this surprise thing. Due to the more angle, the day on particular this declination, the we observe longest day on the earth. So 21st June is the longest day on earth, and based on that we have upcoming International Yoga Day. So International Yoga Day is celebrated on this longest day on earth, because it compared to 0 degree, it have a 23.45 degree more time. So every 1 degree you can consider 4 minutes. So approximately you can calculate like 80 to 90 additional minute will be there in the particular this day. Same way there is a maximum, so obviously there will be the minimum, and that minimum, that is shortest day on a particular year, that is 21st December. So when there is an inclined surface and rotating in that way, sometime it will have a this plane will come in the equinox plane. So then we have a zero declination angle. So zero declination angle appear 2 times in a year, and that is called equinox day, March 21 and September 21. So in that particular day, the length of the day and night will be the same. But in case of, say, we are not in case of longest day, that doesn't mean we have day like more than 24 hours. It's not like that. Only thing that we will assume the day in terms of sunrise to sunset. So here it will be rise early and set late. So altogether we have a longest day in terms of sunshine hour. and in terms of December, it's the shortest day. So in December, we will say that, oh, day is finished very early. Get it? And this declination angle can be in the form of D is 23.45 into sine 360 by 365 in terms of this equation. N is the number of day. 1st January, consider 1, and likewise. So based on that, at any day, you will find out the declination. I hope you get the thing. So this is, we can say, the important understanding of solar geometry. Another important thing, our angle, omega. Our angle, that means based on the rotation of the earth. Earth have, you consider 360 degree and all that, 360 degree rotated in 24 hours. So per hour, it is to be rotated by 15 degree. Then we require to understand the local apparent time, because whatever the time we have observed, it is based on some reference time, standard time, and that's why some correction required to be made according to that, at which latitude, which longitude the time standard have there, what our time is there, respective correction will be there, and then we require to measure the thing. And as we have discussed, first, normally falling on the surface is, we'll consider IBN cos theta. If theta is equal to 0, IBN will be cos theta is equal to 1. Our full radiation in terms of IBN, solar beam radiation, normal solar beam radiation, will get it. Theta is 0 means what? Our projection of our surface, or normal of our surface, and rays have no any deviation. So we can say projection or normal of the surface is in the direction of the sun with no degree. Now, as you discussed, theta, it depends on so many factors like latitude angle, declination angle, slope, gamma, omega, and all that. So you can see cos theta is a combination of all these. So it will be looks like a very lengthy equation. Difficult to calculate with simply calculator. You require some programming or some equation. So it is a combination of all the things. So if you combine all the things, then and then you will get the theta. So the theta depend on number of factors. Latitude, that means location dependency, then delta, that is seasonal dependency, that is not in our hand. Earth can have their own will to rotate. Beta, that we can manage by means of slope creation and all that. Gamma, once again, that is a longitude related aspect, location related. This is omega, is our angle that depend on the time. So practically we can say in a year there is a different theta value at different every second, but the variation is some within a range, so it will affect something, affect not, depend how we can catch them. So I hope you get the thing. Now the equation of the cos theta is given when we have some special cases. So in case of vertical surface, when beta is 90 degree, if you put the beta in this equation, you have a different equation. In case of horizontal surface, then beta is 0 degree, you will have a different equation. Or sometimes you have an inclined surface facing due south. That means your azimuth angle is 0, and then you put the gamma over 0. Sometimes your vertical surface, gamma 0, if you do facing south, beta 90 degree, like this. Same in case of surface facing north. So you have gamma 180 degree, you put accordingly. So you will have simplified equation. So this is a generalized, a global equation. Based on your appropriate beta, based on your appropriate latitude, based on your angle, you can have your own equation. So just I'm giving the that is a universal equation, we can say. Clear? Any doubt about this thing up to anything? Okay. So this is what we have learned about solar geometry. So various different solar angles. And in case of, particularly concentrated types of collector, they used to receive, and maximum it will try to reflect these rays toward the linear, or we can say the focal point. But at the same time, collector must be exposed to the sun effectively every time. And that is required, we can say, the tracking mechanism, and that's why we require to understood how we can rotate this mechanism so it can trace the sun. So normally there can be axis. Normal in case of linear, there is a axis, linear absorber, particularly in parabolic and all that. So this axis pointed either in east-west direction or either in north-south direction. Where it is required east-west direction, the focal axis is normally considered as a horizontal, while in north-south orientation, the focal axis may be horizontal or may be inclined. So that we'll see in different tracking mode. So there is a number of 5 different tracking mode are there. So once again, there's a new thing. I think you have not learned this thing earlier. So whenever you design any equipment, any mechanism, very first you know the mode and effect of that mode. In case of mode 1, very simple, easy, focal axis is horizontal and east-west direction. Normally movement of the sun is from east to west. So parallel to this east-west direction, axis of the unit is placed in a horizontal. Then in this case, what happened? Collector is used to rotate about horizontal east-west. That means your fixed. That means one end is of the absorber is in east, one end is in a west direction, and you used to rotate about the axis of this absorber, and it adjusts once in every day in such a that solar beam is normal to the collector aperture plane and the solar noon on that day. So what happened? Very simplest mode, just you place your absorber tube in absorber or receiver in east-west direction, and daily just you move once in a day. Very simple mode. The mode 2 is somewhat like mode 1, like horizontal east-west direction. Your receiver tube is there, but here you will have a continuous adjustment and rotation of the collector about horizontal east-west axis in such a way that all this time solar beam makes the minimum angle of incidence, because our theta must be the minimum, and when the theta is 0, we'll get the maximum outcome. So take a minimum angle of incidence to maintain that for continuously rotating. So slowly get rotating in we can say to trace the sun in a north-south way. Clear? That means just we have to make it up and down. In simple way, we just have to make it up and down, the axis in the east and west direction. Mode 2. The third mode is here the axis get change. Axis direction is get changed. Here we need to place our axis in the north and south direction. Get the thing, north and south direction, and keep it horizontal. And continuously adjustment and rotation of collector about horizontal north-south axis in such a way that solar beam makes minimum angle of incidence with aperture plane. So continuously, like in the morning, our sun is toward east direction. So our aperture is toward east direction. Axis obviously toward north-south, but it has to be trough direction on east. And slowly, as per the movement of the earth, we need to trace the sun from east to west. So that is mode 3. Fine, I hope you get the thing. Mode 4, focal axis is inclined at latitude angle. So it's as good as mode 3, but here, like in case of flat plate collector, we used to incline at the latitude angle. Same way, axis and complete setup is made at angle of latitude angle. And then same way, rotation of the axis from east to west direction, and that is because of the mode 4. Mode 5, very complicated. Here 2D rotation is there. So once again, same thing here. Focal axis is inclined as well as in north-south direction. It is adjusted and rotated continuously in a 2 axis. So at the same time east to west, at the same time we can say north to south. So combination in such a way that at every instant the rays coming to the perpendicular to the aperture plane. So this we can say the mode 5, but mode 5 is a rather complex, costly and all that. Now we have gone through the all different 5 types of mode. Then now question will be your mind, which mode we can use and all. Now some mode is seasonal dependency, sometimes some mode is costly and all that, but practically how we can go through. So comparing the incident beam radiation on collector aperture plane over the day for various mode of tracing, mode 5, as we have discussed, is a more complex to provide two axis rotation, while mode 1 and 2 are not useful because they don't have a yield image on the focal axis. It have a certain, in a solar noon it's fine, it have a proper, but in case of other than that noon, it have a not appropriate image. That means we'll not get the thing. But mode 3 is better compared to mode 4. Why? Because it's easy. Here you need not to require your receiver to have incline. And once your receiver is get inclined, the difficulty is there to supply at a particular height and all that. Second thing, once you have like a 5 number of trough are there, and you want to rotate all 5 trough with the single motor, and that time difficult because inclination problem and all that. So if you provide a common single shaft for tracking and all that, mode 3 is more economical, feasible in terms of connection and all that, compared to mode 4. Mode 5, as we have seen, that is not appropriate, complex, and whatever the energy that you are using, sometimes it will not get the revert back. So third mode in normally feasibility economical wise, mode 3 is good compared to. And sometimes almost they also give the outcome, the outcome has been compared by IIT Bombay. They used to have a same concentrator and they work for all 5 kind of mode, and they found out that mode 3 provide almost the same outcome compared to mode 5. At least mode 5 ની નજીક જ આપે છે, that's comparatively good. So this is, we can say, about the solar geometry. Now I think we have think that's very important. If anyone any question, let me ask. Anything in your mind? Able to listen me or not? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm audible.
Yes,
So
sir.
yeah, till now we have covered the something new, different solar geometry, tracking, all that. If you have any question, you can ask, otherwise we will continue.
Sir, this is Mahesh Asani from EC.
Okay.
Sir, I have a question about refractive index of the glass. Should I ask now or should I ask at the end?
That will see in a particular section wise. It coming later on.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Fine. So this is all about solar geometry and all that. Now we'll go for a theoretical background of solar PTC. All of you know that sun rays are coming, get reflected, and our receiver will get it. Now some important terminology we need to understood. This is, we can say, the width of the collector. This is, we can say, the depth of the collector. Collector can be like this depth, that depth, or not. Let me laser have. Okay. So collector may have different depth. Change the pane. Yeah. It can be like depth D is there, collector depth. Now, important thing is that whenever the sun rays are receiving, these rays are receiving in this particular surface area. So this is, we can say, our aperture area. That is width, and in here we can say the length is there. Perpendicular to this slide. So this W into length, that will be your aperture area where you will get the rays. So here the extra contour length is there. The rays will get reflected over this absorber. Another, that is a rim angle. The phi is, we can see, the rim angle. So this rim angle is angle made by this line with the point joining the end of the curvature to receiver, center of the receiver. So this is a rim angle. Normally rim angle need to be considered. Suppose if it like this, your rim angle will be like this. So that will be your 90 degree. But normally in case of parabolic, rim angle has to be less than 90 degree. Otherwise it will not give the yield effect. So this thing we need to understood. uh, mathematics or engineering graphics and all that, we know equation of parabola y is equal to mx square. So height of any point on the curve in a such a way that some constant multiplying any x value, that square, it is like this, and this constant is nothing but 1 upon 4f. So this is, we can say, the equation of parabola. Depth of the parabola is defined by width, half of the width square divided by 4f, and rim angle, as we know that 2 arctan w by 2 minus w by 2 divided by f minus d. You can see like this. This is a d, this is a w, this is, you can say, f minus d, that much of length, f minus d, and this is a phi. So what is a w by 2? The half part of this w by 2 divided by f minus d, that arctan, that we can say the phi. So I hope you get it from geometry. Aperture width, as we have seen, another important consideration is that concentration ratio C. That is nothing but ratio of effective area of aperture to surface area of absorber. So this is, we can say, the effective area is what? That much. Among that, you can deduct this absorber area, because absorber area not receiving the, or whatever the receiving is directly by absorber. So that's why this reflector is not receiving the rays. So that will be hide by the thing. That's why this is a width minus diameter. So W minus D, that will be the effective aperture area divided by the diameter. The area of this, we can say, the absorber, that we can say the concentration ratio. Fine. So the variation of value of concentration ratio from unity in case of flat plate connector, it can be goes to 1000 in case of parabolic disc. Okay. Now important part that we can say the variables or different parameter for solar energy want to gain by means of solar parabolic trough concentrator. So this is the thing that you will not find in any book, that is based on reference review books and all that. So that is gathered and some by means of experience and all that. Here we can say that solar intensity. As far as our solar intensities are there, that depend on number of factors like location of the particular collector, like longitude, latitude, like phi, gamma and all that. Season, as we have seen, winter and all that, that get affected by declination angle, time of the day, our angle, trekking, non-trekking, whether we are going for trekking or not. And when we are going for trekking, then which mode of trekking, as we have discussed the number of mode, which one is appropriate and all that. So for as far as this concerned with the solar intensity, it can be applicable to any collector. Now part B is for particularly concentrated types of collector. Now in case of that concentration of solar energy, how we can get the enhancement in receiving this solar energy? That depend on the size of setup, because every kind of setup have their own some loss and all that. In case of larger size, this loss will be proportionately get diminished. Size of the setup, then concentricity of axis of parabolic trough concentrator. So where exactly you put your linear absorber at the focal point, that will be some concentricity that will also affect the performance. Parabolic shape, if your shape is not parabolic, then whatever the image of reflected rays will that get different. So that is also another important thing. And type of the reflecting material, what we are using, aluminum foil, Karl solar refractor, reflectance, mirror film glass and all that. So different. All to get whatever the radiation at presently we have maximum, how we can get concentrated. Now once the rays coming from sun, then get reflected by reflector, then it has to incident on absorber. So now how we can get this, absorb this solar energy? So what kind of linear absorber at the focal point we do have, like open pipe, evacuated glass tubes, then we can say the size of the absorber, and which shape of the absorber and which particular orientation we put that particular shape. This is another important understanding. Then what kind of material you use for that absorber, like glass tube, copper tube, aluminum tube, SS tube and all that. In case of low temperature, glass tube will work, but higher temperature it will get break. Aluminum also has the thermal stasis effect. It cannot be used. So medium to high temperature copper can be used, and as well. So for the ones that is again absorbed by absorber tube. Fine. Now whatever been absorbed, now last is that how we get retrieve that heat from the absorber. So we require heat transfer fluid, normally water containing nanofluids like Al2O3, thermic fluid, oil can be used. And the thing is mass flow rate of the fluid. So what kind of mass flow rate we should provide them? Higher the mass flow rate, lower the temperature, and slow the mass flow to higher temperature. So the what kind of your requirement. Second thing, inlet fluid temperature, whether it's have a very low temperature, high temperature, and in case of recirculating time, that means whatever the output you will get from exit of the absorber, once again you re-enter. So that will be the high input will be there. And what kind of your output fluid temperature, all the way that will depend. So in each and every parameter, there is a different experimentation, mind well. So this is the way it will work. So just summarize the thing, effect of various parameter. Effect of inlet temperature. If the inlet fluid temperature get increased, obviously it will lead to increasing absorber temperature. And when the absorber temperature get increased, higher temperature will lead to radiative and convective losses. So efficiency get decreasing. So you should have fluid inlet temperature should be minimum as far as possible. So maximum it can get the heat from absorber. In case of inlet temperature, optical efficiency is not going to change, only the thermal efficiency get changed. Mass flow rate. If you increase the mass flow rate, then means increase inside heat transfer coefficient HF. So your heat transfer with removal of the heat will get increased, HF get increased, and that is increase the collector efficiency factor F and collector heat removal factor FR, hence efficiency will increase. So higher the mass flow rate, you will get the higher efficiency, but it have a certain limit based on different research at which particular maximum particular angle, maximum temperature, maximum flow rate will get the efficiency variation. So that we'll see later on. Now effect of selectivity of absorber tube surface. So what kind of absorber tube surface do we have? Like there will be more chances of re-radiation and convective losses from absorber tube because it's have a high temperature. How we can reduce? That can be reduced by means of two ways. Radiation losses can be reduced by selective surface. Selective in the sense means what? It used to absorb the heat but not allowed to emit the heat. The particular types of coating is provided to the absorber tube that can be reduce this problem of radiation. Same way, convective losses can be reduced by providing vacuum in annular space between absorber tube and glass cover. Then effect of concentration ratio. How we can manage the effect of concentration ratio? Increase in concentration ratio by decreasing size of absorber tube. So as we have seen, there is a aperture area, and that in center you have an absorber tube. Smaller the absorber tube, the ratio of aperture area to absorber, that is called concentration ratio. So smaller this absorber, greater will be your concentration ratio. And by means of that, why it is? Because decrease the losses from the absorber tube, radiative loss, convective losses due to the smaller size, and that will increase the efficiency. So higher the concentration ratio, you will get the thing, but have a certain limitation also in terms of concentration. So based on the number of research have done, what kind of the thing is that, which is a maximum thing, which is a minimum thing, and all that. So normally tracking, as you can say, tracking and non-tracking parameter is that east-west direction tracking provide 94% of full tracking performance. Mode 3, it will give the 94%. Only 6% difference in terms of tracking is that, and in terms of maximum saving, not to have a 2-axis rotation and all that. And in terms of tracking accuracy, you can go for 0.5%, not an issue. Prototype developed based on considering the cost and easiness to make. Concentration ratio up to 10, that will give the good result. And this all particular thing is based on the researchers on particular site, location, and all wise. So that different research have a different outcome. Concentricity of axis of parabolic collector, that they used to have orient between 90 to 180 degree. What kind of the reflecting material they may use, like aluminum sheet, they found the efficiency up to 55 percentage, car solar reflector efficiency 54, aluminum foil 51 percentage. So aluminum sheet provide the better efficiency. Another thing that diameter of the absorber tube 30 mm provide maximum efficiency. Once again, it depend on the size of that setup, what kind of concentration ratio they used to set. Absorber coating, in case of low temperature, there is a no meaning, technically meaning of absorber coating, but yes, high to moderate to high, it can. Material used for absorber pipe, copper tube compared to SS and aluminum. So in case of aluminum, due to thermal stresses, that will be a big issue, the failure, crack and all that. In case of SS, it's also an issue. Length of absorber tube need to be provided 10% extended length. So based on your trough length, some slight higher 10% increase in length of the absorber tube is provided. Why? Because whatever the rays been reflected at the end part, that will be goes out of the focus and that will not gain. તો આપણે જે કંઈક ઓલરેડી રિફ્લેક્ટેડ થઈ ગયું છે એ આપણે શા માટે ગુમાવીએ? So better if you have a higher the length, some both side at the both the end, 5% at the both the end, you will get the whatever the reflected by means of parabolic, you will get maximum. Heat transfer fluid can be most water, aluminum oxide, nanoparticle can be used. Mass flow rate of the fluid, normally it can be provided up to, we can say, the 40 kg per hour for the maximum efficiency. Based on that outcome, ream angle maximum up to 80 degree, maximum temperature that can be achieved 300 degree based on that experiment limitation, and median temperature application like 150 to 190 degree. Optical efficiency 0.61 in terms of their outcome, or heat transfer coefficient 18.18, they get maximum. Heat loss, they have make experiment to how much percentage of heat loss. So 64% heat loss in the form of convection and remaining in the form of radiation. So convective heat loss is more, and this is the reason why we go for evacuated tube types of absorber. Efficiency difference in terms of, you have a analytical efficiency and experimental efficiency. There will be like 7 to 15% difference among this efficiency, and they get the maximum efficiency by means of open tube like 53%. If you have a shielded like evacuated 55%, someone are using twisting factor. So different efficiency they have observed. Now as we have seen, open and evacuated performance can be varied, like open loss up to, we can say, 40% they have observed. In case of evacuated, efficiency goes up to 61% compared to open of 46%. And this is, you can say, the maximum 42 and average 37% efficiency they have observed. Clear? So this is the about comparison of open and evacuated absorber. Then we can say the different parameter, like some people have tried to use a modify absorber, like orientation of absorber to vertical double, they get the better result. Concentric double pipe, they have a different result. Some are using internal fin, they used to get 3% efficiency improvement but 5% increase in cost. Someone getting the single and modified header types of setup. In case of single, 27%, but modify have more result. So this is, we can say, the research outcome. Internal flow obstruction with different shape. If you go inside, if you put different shape like triangular, square, and try to get it obstructed, no appreciable change in temperature they have get observed. So based on the literature review, understanding and all that, and try to get the advantage, or try to get the advantage from the different outcome. And based on that, this is, we can say, the finalizing the parameter. This parameter finalizing, like width have taken 1.5 meter, 1.1 meter, length 1.85 meter, Concentration ratio in case of single tube, that was about 21.75, and in case of double tube, that we have taken 10.71. Rim angle consider 69 degree. Inner diameter of the tube, whatever the metal, copper metal absorber tube we have selected, for that inside diameter like 14.1 and 15.6 about outside diameter. And we have used the evacuated glass cover, and that's why the cover outside diameter is 58 mm and inside diameter of the cover is 54. Specular reflectivity of the surface, whatever the material we have taken, like aluminum reflector, the reflectivity, that rho is 0.88. And the glass cover transmittivity, because we used to take the glass evacuated tube. So whatever the rays used to be passed from this glass, so what is the transmittivity tau of that glass is 0.95, and glass cover emissivity. So how much way it can radiate the energy, that 0.9, and absorber tube absorbivity alpha. So which way it is to absorb the heat, absorb alpha, it is 0.96 we have taken, and absorber tube emissivity. So at the same time, with the higher temperature, at which rate it can emit the heat to the environment from the absorber, that 0.69 consider. Intercept factor 0.83. Intercept factor is nothing but whatever the radiation being reflected by the reflector and being intercept to the absorber tube. Number of the parameter factor, tracking, dependency, cleanness, darting, geometrical error, all the number of factors are there. Based on that, it intercept factor, that is nothing but we can say the 83% of energy from reflector to absorber is going or received by absorber in terms of. So intercept factor, that is our own phenomena based on whatever the setup you have taken, the intercept factor will be the different for different setup. Then evacuation in the tube, we can go for up to 95% evacuation, that means 500 Pascal up to. And tracking mode, we have consider like third mode tracking. Our axis is in north-south direction and used to rotate the trough from east to west direction, and at which velocity 1 degree of trough movement at every 4 minutes. So this is, we can say, the finalizing of parameter. Now just we briefly go through the setup. You can see this is parabolic shape structure, dimension already have declared. This is a CNC cut parabolic shape is there. Based on that, the with supporting material, aluminum sheet is been fixed. Here, this is, we can say, the anodized aluminum sheet is used. Specular reflectivity 0.8, and focal length we have taken 0.4 meter. That means about 40 centimeter. Absorber tube is taken. Length, our trough length was 1.8 meter, but we have taken extended length 10%, as we have discussed. Absorber tube is larger somewhat. Copper material is used. Diameter already have discussed. All the parameter already understood. This is a stand. Now this is, we can say, the 3D view, how we can see this thing like this. So this is, we can say, the setup, experimental setup of parabolic trough. Now you can see how it is been developed. You can see the number of 5 ribs are there. CNC cutting, among that supporting material is there. So you have to make rigid enough that it will withstand the wind load. Why? Because we have make here the pipe is there. Among that, we used to rotate. So it will be rotate as per our requirement, not based on the wind. So here mounting of absorber tube with mechanism is there. So another important thing we have done in our setup, that is a tracking mechanism. So we have developed tracking system. Otherwise, there is no use of concentrator, particular larger size. So tracking is one of the bigger issue in case of concentrator. And in case of tracking, what to do? Normally, the rotation of Earth is, you can say, 360 degree per 24 hours. So roughly, we can say Earth is rotated about 15 degree per hour, or we can say 1 degree at every 4 minutes. So at every 4 minutes, 1 degree our Earth is rotating. practically Earth is rotating and Sun. We apparently see that Sun is rotating or Sun is moving, and we are steady. But this is, we can say, the apparent motion. But practically our Earth is rotating. That's why we have to have a anti-clockwise movement. It means a counter-clock effect must be provided by means of this tracking mechanism. So that's why every time there is a normal rays maintained with the respect to Sun. And that's why we have developed solar PV assisted tracking mechanism that used to rotate the trough from east to west direction. That means that used to trace the Sun. And that's why PV assisted mechanism is there. That's why it used to charge the battery, and from this battery we used to run the motor. And we have taken here the Viper motor, and this Viper motor run on battery supply 12 volt, our car system and all that. So this is mechanism we developed. As we have seen, 1 degree rotation of north-south facing axis of the trough at every 4 minutes, and third mode of tracking we have seen. So these are the various components that we have used for tracking mechanism. This is, we can say, the worm, and this is, we can say, the spur gear or worm wheel. Now here there is a 19 number of the teeth. So for one cycle or one rotation of the worm, just move the one teeth. So that is a, we can say, the 90 times gearing is there. And why we are using worm and spur? Because self-locking mechanism is there. So with the wind and all that, it will not moving at it on. And here we have used the limit switch, supply breaking and all that. Hall effect is there, Viper motor is there, and this is, you can say, the PV module. These are the list of components being used, like limit switch, all that we have discussed, PV module and all that. Now how it will be rotating? With the help of worm and spur gear, our requirement is 1 degree rotation of the trough at every 4 minutes. So we require timer, and 1 degree rotation of trough at every 4 minutes. And that's why we have taken 9:1 spur worm rotation. So in that case, what happened? One rotation of the worm will make a one teeth movement. Now one teeth movement is a 90, 360 divided 90. That means one complete revolution of worm will make the 4 degree rotation of the shaft, and that become 4 degrees. So that is more than our requirement. And that's why what we have taken, we have divided the 1 RPM in a 4 step. Say for 4 quarter, 90 degree rotation of the motor. So at every interval of the 4 minutes, by means of all electronic system and all that, only 1 quarter of the shaft of the worm is being rotated. So 90 degree movement of the worm. So 90 degree rotation of the worm have multiplied with this gear ratio, and that will create the 1 degree rotation of the worm wheel. And that's why worm wheel is attached to the shaft, and that's why shaft of the trough is being rotated 1 degree. So every 4 minutes it is used to rotate 1 degree of the shaft, and supply and all that, everything is given. So automatically it will trace the sun from east to west. At the end of the motion, like at the end of the day, 4 or 5 o'clock, we need to reset the setup from, just we have to manually move it because it's not to have a reverse direction provision and all that. So this is, we can say, the mechanism. Here you can see, this is, we can say, the worm. This is, we can say, the 93 types of worm wheel is there. It is being supplied with the chain. It is connected with the Viper motor and all this Hall effect sensor and all that. So here you can see, this is a battery supplied, energy get received from PV module, supplied to the battery to this system, and this is been mounted. This worm wheel is mounted with the shaft. So that's why this complete setup, this is a remain fixed absorber and all that. This trough is been rotated. This is the beauty of this tracking mechanism. Now, what kind of instrument we have used so far in our setup? Solar power meter we have used that can be used to measure the solar radiation, digital anemometer, thermocouple of K type, and measuring jar have been used. Different instruments are there. Their accuracy, range, and uncertainty is mentioned here. No need to go in detail. So what we have performed the experimentation. So in experimentation, we have done very first is for a single open absorber tube. Then we have done this experiment with evacuated absorber tube. Then we have go for double absorber tube. So here you can see the setup, water supplied is not pump, but obviously by means of elevated height, potential energy form that is being supplied, inlet of the water, outlet of the water. This is a aluminum deflector of the trough is given. This absorber tube open and taking mechanism mentioned. So this is the experiment procedure. No need to go in detail. Just the thing is that we have taken all kind of initial solar geometry related reading, and then inlet temperature, solar meter reading, wind reading, and all that. And based on that, whatever the fluid outlet temperature we have measured, we measure with the help of thermocouples. For collected known quantity of water, here we have taken 1 liter, and that procedure been repeated for every 5 minutes. So you can see here every 4 minutes we used to rotate, and that's immediately take the reading. So it will take 1 minute. So it is a cyclic process. So the reading at the interval of 5 minutes we have taken. Why? Because this is a concentrated type of collector, and here fluid is passing continuously, and that's why you have to take the instantaneous reading of each and everything, and that's why you have a different efficiency at particular time. So that's a useful heat gain and thermal efficiency is being calculated. So this all about the experimentation. Now, whatever the reading we have taken experimentally, we need to validate it with respect to theoretical analysis, or we can say the analytical by means of simulation. We have taken theoretical approach because simulation have a certain limitation, or it's require very high expertise, or I think hardly nobody is available in the Gujarat to go for that kind of in-depth simulation. So once again, it's one of the research problem. Go for simulation of trough and all that. All the research scholar can go further for this thing. This theoretical analysis is very simple. The concentration ratio already we have discussed. One important understand that absorb flux as it nothing but it's a combination of different parameter per unit area. How much flux will get received? This is for how much we get on trough, how much we get on absorber tube. It is IBRB, that beam radiation, that is tilted factor effect, reflective to material. This is, we can say, the intercept factor as we have discussed earlier, then transmittive absorptive product and all that. So based on theoretical analysis, Q useful will be in the form of this value. But in case of analytical, we don't know the fluid outcome, but we are interested to find out what is in your setup, in your working environment, what is your probable fluid outlet temperature, and that we have to match with the experimental one. If they are very near or within a particular area, then you can say your experimentation is validated, and that's why we need to get remove this TFO for analytical theoretical analysis purpose, and that it comes in this form and all that. And that's why we have to confront with the two factor. One is APDES, that is collection efficiency factor, well defined by this equation, and FR, heat removal factor. So this is the thing that is very well given in the literature, and based on that we can find out the instantaneous efficiency if we neglect the ground reflection and only consider the beam radiation. So efficiency is nothing but we can say the Q useful like this. Q useful upon IBRB, width of the collector, length of the collector, solar beam radiation, whatever we are receiving, and this is the tilting factor. So based on that, efficiency can be calculated. So, but it's not easy, just a very simple thing we have understood, but it is also a different phenomena, U, L, and all that. So you can say overall heat loss factor and all that, FDES, FR, how we can get it? We require a systematic understanding of this thing. Thermal analysis, due to limitation of time, hardly we take only one thing. Just try to understood the physics of what kind of losses will be there, how the heat will be there. Suppose this is, we can say, the absorber tube. This is a copper, inside there is a fluid. Whatever the Q heat will receive over here, that is been transmitted or conducted through absorber, the conductivity material here comes the matter, then it transports the fluid. At the same time, due to the higher temperature of this absorber tube, there will be the radiation loss to the sky as well as the convection loss to the atmosphere. So here you can see this thermal network diagram. The Q absorb or Q receive by means of reflector and incident on absorber tube, partly they go to losses, partly go to the consume or absorb by means of conduction through the copper tube and transport to the particular fluid. Or otherwise, remaining part is radiation, radiation, that means from absorber to radiation, and from W, that consider a wind, like a convective heat transfer coefficient of the wind, and go for the convection to the wind. So this is a simple thermal network diagram. So how we can proceed analysis? Normally, heat loss per unit length of the absorber can be considered by this equation. Here, this part is nothing but we can say this is a AM, TAM, this average mean temperature of absorber to air. That means this is a convective part, and this is, you can say, the radiative part. So this is a radiation. That means per unit length of the absorber, how much get convected, how much get radiated. Now, how we can find out? Here, unknown parameters are what? TAM, absorber mean temperature. So in case of UOQ, it's very difficult to get measure because it's average temperature. So theoretically, you can find out, step by step, we'll find out first HW. So based on that, one equation is given, Nusselt number. Based on Nusselt number, you can find out HW, that is nothing but convective heat transfer coefficient HW. Second thing, HF can be find out once that is inside phenomena. HF, based on the equation available, you can get the Nusselt number, you can get the H. So HF can be find out. For that, there is a flow chart is given for how to get proceed. So this is a combination of experimental and theoretical part. Just start the flow chart in the program. You get the solar data, find out all the complicated equation from programming, delta, omega, theta, and all that, and find out the solar flux H. And then get the data about temperature of the fluid, temperature of the air, mass flow rate, and all that, and get its property from material table and calculate the HF from Nusselt number. Then here UL, overall heat transfer, that is unknown. Just you can assume very first, based on assumption, you can find out unknown parameter F dash, FR, QU, QL by L, and then estimate the TAM, average mean temperature of the absorber. So one assumption, then other assumption. You assume in such a way that the combination of the, we can see here, the summation of convective part, radiative part is equal to total loss, whatever we have get assumed from this thing. Till you goes on changing the average mean temperature of the absorber. Once it get fixed, you can find out the final QU, QL by L, and then find out efficiency and all that. So this thing you have to do for each and every reading, and that's why programming is required, and based on that you can find out the thing. So this is, we can say, open tube experiment, and then same thing is for evacuated. This here you can see the absorber is there inside, and evacuation between glass and copper tube is there. Setup is developed. Here one way water is inflow, and then other way get outflow. So this is setup is given. Same way the physics is like that. Now just we take understood this. This is a glass cover. Now this is absorber. In between there is a vacuum. As usual, like our open absorber, the fluid inside that have a HF. Whatever the heat will have get received by means of conduction. Now there will be the convection between absorber and cover. There will be the radiation between absorber and cover. So there is a radiation from absorber to cover, convection from absorber to cover. So the two resistance get added. And by means of that, this inside part get heated, that will transfer to the cover. And from the cover, there is a radiation to the sky and convection to the air. So this is a very simple understanding, and that is given in the network diagram. So whatever the heat will come or energy coming outside of the absorber, that is being absorbed by the fluid or either going from outside of the cover to inside of the cover, you can say like this, convection, conduction from outside even also, and then from outside of the cover goes to the sky in the form of radiation and convection. So in a simple way, whatever the heat will getting, either it is go in the form of loss to the environment, either go into form of fluid. So this is the thing. Now this little bit light complicated for evacuated absorber tube, because here four phenomena occur. One, that means absorber to cover. So this we can say the absorber to cover convection, absorber to cover radiation. Here setup is in such a way that energy balance point of view, whatever the cover being radiated or convected is equal to what? That is received. What is received? Received from inside. That means from absorber. So whatever is being received, that and that will be get loose. So that means from cover to air, this is a cover to air, whatever the receive. Now cover to air convection, cover to air radiation. So this is the
Professor
phenomenon.
sir, Professor sir, sorry to disturb you, but now you may conclude because of time is actually over.
Okay, sure.
You are, yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah. So this is the, we can say the overall, the by means of trial and error and all that, different types of, equations are there. By means of that, you can find out, you can see here, or there is a direct one mechanism with that. You can find out overall heat transfer coefficient by putting all this value, and based on that, you can find out the thing. So once again, same way, there is a flow diagram is there. So this is the thing, we can see the result and discussion within just 5 minutes. This is single open to the absorber. You can see solar insolation and temperature of the air is given and all that. No need to, let me jump to the evacuated. Yeah. Single evacuated tube absorber, you can say Q experimental value like this. And this is, we can say the, whatever the Q theoretical value. Obviously, theoretical value will be high. There is unaccounted lossing will be there in case of experimental value. And here we can say the solar radiation available. So based on that, whatever the fluid outlet temperature we have supposed to be get calculated from theoretical value and what we have received experimentally, we need to correlate them. And the coefficient of correlation is 0.9, so very nearest to 1. It's a sound. Root mean square error and percentage deviation we have get the, and according to we have equation. So this is, we can say the single evacuated tube. Same thing is for a double evacuated, and it's a combinedly we can say the make the figure like single open, single evacuated, double at various orientation and all that. So we can find out this is nothing but difference in QU. That means whatever difference between theoretical and experimental, based on that percentage, a minimum difference is that for a particular double tube with particular orientation. So this is, we can say the all same way the fluid outer temperature, this is experimentally, this is theoretically. The difference is minimum for particular thing. Here you can say the minimum error, minimum root error, you can find out. So this is, we can say. So what is in nutshell conclusion in that? By applying the evacuated tube, we have a higher efficiency in terms of 53% from 48%. Also, we'll get, if you go for double evacuated tube, also we can have up to 58% efficiency. So up to 5% will increase in efficiency, at 2% increase in the cost. So all the thing we have discussed. Now, meanwhile, if you have any question, you can ask. So it's a very lengthy session, but I will try that cover the most till most of the thing is remaining. But it is a very iterative and lot of with equation, so it will be high for you at one instance. Now, anyone have any question?
So if you have any question, participants, then you can raise your question here.
Yes, sir. Mahesh Asani.
Yes, bolo.
Sir, in various sessions, we have seen the various applications of heat transfer where glasses are used, whether they may be plate type or glass tube or hemispheric type, but no speaker has talked about the refractive index of that glass material, which is a very important parameter. So I want to know whether it is considered in design or not.
See, normally we will consider the, whatever the heat will be get received from cover and transferred to the absorber. So transmittivity is sufficient enough because refractivity is nothing but combination of the part. Once you get your required transmittivity, that means suppose 100-watt energy is receiving. Among that you will get 90. So forget about the reflection. It will be get refracted, but whatever the 90 you are getting, for that 90 you are make the calculation. Getting what I mean to say.
So that means absorptivity, emissivity, and transmittivity are the part of that refractive index.
Yeah. Obviously, the summation is one matlab. So
Okay,
once you get 0.9, that means remaining all will be reflection and all that.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other participant?
Sir, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, up to now they have not discussed regarding some basics regarding sun. So what is the diameter of the sun? What is the distance of the sun from Earth? What is the core temperature of the sun? How many layers are there in sun? So
For that you have to refer solar energy SP Sukhatme. It's everything is given. That is available. But only what we are interested right now, because in globally there is a maximum 1357 watt per watt energy available per unit area per square meter. Normally in India we will get the average 1000 watt. So this is our, we can say, the input, and based on available input we are processing and everything. So we are not supposed to change our input by any means, but for the knowledge lots of things are available based on the diameter of the sun and earth and all that.
okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Fine.
Yeah, any question from the participant?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Yes, bolo.
Sir, I have one question regarding the heat transfer fluid. So, can we use the molten salt or any other phase change material to increase the efficiency of the parabolic trough collector?
Yes, we can use. Not an issue, but only thing that it has to be, liquid state. Then and then we effectively transfer from one end to another end.
Okay, so when we are using a molten salt, at that time, which type of material we have to select for a parabolic trough collector?
See, molten salt is actually energy storage material. So storage, as far as storage is concerned, once you have a circuit like whether water or any additive with the water, from that circuit, if you retrieve the heat and transfer to the molten salt, it will be good enough. Otherwise, for the circulation purpose and all that, it is difficult. So molten salt and this kind of material being used for storage purpose. That already we have seen different storage device and all that. So most frequently being used for storing the energy. So whatever the energy we have received from the absorber tube, from fluid, and then transferred to particular location wise, or when there is no need, it can be stored in form of that material.
And one more question, sir, regarding this molten salt, because the salt is corrosive in nature. So when we are using a molten salt at this time, which type of precaution we have to consider?
See, here I have considered only up to just directly applying the water to particular industrial application. So have not considered the part like storage. So I think better it can be taken in terms of storage of its energy and all that.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Anyone else?
Yeah. So, Vagasya sir, this was really a very interesting session and informative also, because of you have explained so many terminologies with the experiment. So, thank you so much, sir, Dr. Jignesh Vagasya sir, in-charge principal of the Sasit College, for giving such a wonderful expert talk. So, thank you for sparing your valuable time with us. So thank you everyone, and speaker also. So now we will meet exit at 11:45 on the same link with a very good expert, Dr. S.A. Chandiwala sir. He is also known as the Solar Man. So he will be with us in the next session. So everybody should remain present in the session. So thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.